Welcome to the American Valor Podcast. Today we are speaking with Jeremy Wolf. Jeremy is the co founder and CEO of MindReady, co founder and chairman of the board of More Than Baseball, a former outfielder with the Mets organization and the Israeli National Olympic team. Jeremy, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thanks so much for having me. This is a lot of fun. I love doing things that help athletes. Played high school baseball in Arizona, played college baseball in Texas. Was fortunate enough to have amazing teammates, won a national championship, got drafted to play for the New York Mets. Did that for a couple years, got injured and got released. We'll get to that in a bit, but um, the opportunity to have played for um, Team Israel and qualify for the Olympics in 2019 and 2020. When I look back at my career, I never thought that any of these things would happen. And so when you bring all that stuff up, I go, oh, wow, like that, like on the outside looking in, that is very cool, and it's really interesting for me to have these conversations to look back on what baseball has done for me in my life and the things that I hope to get back to baseball because of this too. So it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
No, absolutely. Now, you mentioned the fact that you get to look back and, just peeking in, and we was having a conversation prior to this, just peeking in on how everything unfolded for you. And you'll share some of that here as we go along, but how it unfolded for you led you to such a bigger than life type of mission, right? Something that would help every minor league baseball player from here on out, right? Where you didn't get that when you was going through. And so happy that you got to experience that and now making your mark on
Yeah.
those careers that are coming up. And folks, at the Bob Feller Active Valor Foundation, we strive to educate, support, and recognize by instilling the timeless values of service, sacrifice, legacy, and citizenship. Now, Jeremy, based on the pillars mentioned, I would like to start today's conversation with sacrifice, something that you are well familiar with, but baseball and entrepreneurship demand a lot time, energy, and focus. And so, what sacrifices have you experienced during your journey as a professional athlete and businessman? And how have they shaped you?
When you're in the moment, you don't think of these things as sacrifices. So, you'll play professional baseball and you'll sit on a bus and you'll know that your cousin or your somebody your relative is getting married, or you'll miss a funeral, or you'll miss birthdays, and you'll miss being with family and friends because you have this thing that you need to do, this responsibility, right? Your job. In a way, that's a sacrifice. Not to the level of representing and protecting our country, of course, but sacrificing the things that that make you who you are, right? Your connection and your who you are, off the field. You know, when it comes to like the sacrifices we took to build More Than Baseball, uh, raising $2.5 million and supporting thousands of minor league baseball players, helping 20 minor leaguers from Venezuela seek asylum and stay in the country, helping people get jobs, and ultimately taking the what we knew was the right thing to do, right? Supporting minor league baseball players, helping form a union for them, giving them representation. Now, when I was playing, I made $3,000 a year. Now they make $30,000 a year, maybe a little more depending on the level. Sacrifices that thousands of minor league baseball players made before me and during my time and now after. It's in pursuit of something, right? My pursuit was to form this union of minor league baseball players so that we didn't need to have the conversation again. We were able to, the thousands of people that supported us and the amazing people that actually formed this union, we were able to do the thing we needed to do. But the sacrifices that like we took to do that, the the not the amount of money that we made to do it because it was the right thing to do. Uh, you know, those of us who were on the ground floor with More Than Baseball and minor league advocates and folks at the union did it because it was the right thing to do. And we knew that we had an opportunity at that moment to do the thing, and we just needed to do it. And so for me, when I think about my life in baseball and when I think about my life after baseball and building businesses and doing these things, it's because it's the right thing to do. And we're finding the time and the opportunity um, to do the things that are necessary. And so for more than baseball, it was do everything you can to form the union. We were able to do that. For Mind Ready, it's present something that didn't exist when I was playing or still doesn't exist. And if we're supporting one athlete, if one athlete can benefit from it, one individual and human can benefit from it, then it's worth doing. And when we take it away from the aggregate, saying former Union for minor league baseball player, and we um, bring it to the micro, help this one player access housing or food or equipment or asylum, when we do that on a daily basis, good things happen. And so the domino effect of everything that I've seen in my career is where I find the most value in it in terms of sacrifice. It's a lot of time and energy and effort and conversations, but it leads to something. And for me, that end goal was to do the thing that we did, and more than baseball, mission accomplished.
And you're right. We often don't see it as sacrifice when we know there's a higher purpose, there's something that needs to be done. It is what needs to be done. And afterwards, you realize, oh, wow. And by the way, while I was trying to do that, I missed this and I missed that. And those are some sacrifices that do mean a lot. You know, missing a funeral is something that you'll think about here and there after, and so it's not like it's not impactful, but when we look at what the higher goal is of what we're trying to do, then it doesn't seem so much as a sacrifice. But I know that you made many, and so we thank you for that. Now, part of what you're doing is out of a heart of service, right? And we talk about service. So, as a professional athlete and now entrepreneur, you have a platform that can reach many. So, how do you see your role in serving the communities that you are part of?
When it comes to mental health, it the conversation is happening more in public. We see Simone Biles, who in 2020 took herself out of the Olympics because of she had the spins, right? It's just our version of, at least like the yips. We have Osaka having conversations publicly about mental health, and most recently Jaron Duran, who had conversations about mental health in public. And so the more we see this conversation happening, the more the viewing public, right, or folks supporting athletes or parents or coaches can feel comfortable having the conversation. What I like to say with the work that we do at Mind Ready is not only can we have the conversation, we can open the conversation, but there's there's substance behind the conversation. And so what we do is mental performance coaching and education for athletes, coaches, parents, communities, because we want to open the conversation, but we want to provide the tools and education and the resources necessary to support athletes and their well-being. So I was in a very similar position to what Jaron Duran went through. Um, for him, it was, go read his story, and it's really amazing. And ultimately, he's fortunate that the worst thing that possible didn't happen to him. And I was in a very similar position, and luckily for me, there wasn't a car coming on the other side of the road. Right? We can have these conversations of real things that are happening to athletes. What is the thing that we can do to prevent an athlete from getting to this position in the first place? We can teach them how to react to failure. We can provide them resources and an understanding of how to um, know who they are on the field and how they react to specific scenarios on the field, but off the field as well, the identity that they need to have off the field. When I look back on my career, the ups and the downs, and there were more downs than ups that I feel, right? But I made it to professional baseball. Okay. What if I didn't? Who would I be if I didn't? What would my career trajectory have been if I just stopped playing in college or stopped playing in high school or got injured before I got injured in professional baseball or didn't have the opportunity to play for Team Israel? When I have the conversation with my friends who made it to the major leagues. That was the ultimate goal for me, to make it to the major leagues. All I ever wanted. But all I ever wanted before that was to get drafted. When I talked to my friend who played 7 years in the big leagues, he said, I was never an all-star. I talked to an all-star friend. I said, what? I never won a World Series. I talked to my friend who won a World Series. Uh, he said, I didn't make the Hall of Fame. Those goals don't stop. That's what drives us as athletes, right? That next thing. But when we don't understand that what the level that we have reached, that is, I think, the source of a lot of discontent that comes from like being an athlete. Is not understanding like where you are and where you came from and the success that you have had to get to that position, whether or not you're in high school, college, or professional. That's what's missing in the conversation. So I'm hopeful that Mind Ready, the work that we do, provides an understanding of the value that having these conversations can have, but also having tangible resources like coaching and education to provide athletes with uh, what they need to succeed on and off the field. That is what I missed, and I think a lot of athletes are missing that piece of that conversation and that understanding. So that's our goal. To put it into 6 words, I can't do that. Right? There's a lot more to it um, than what meets the eye, I guess.
Yeah, very powerful. And as you were speaking, I reflected on my military career, right? That one goal that you
Mm-hmm.
just didn't get, and you focus on that, but then you negate the fact that I've sat in rooms of very high level military members in a seat that maybe I didn't deserve at the time, but was granted, by grace and favor to be in those rooms and in those conversations. And none of that would have happened, right? Even if I had achieved that one thing. And so when I reflect on your conversation and how you framed it, I tend to now say, man, that was good. That
Mm-hmm.
was good. And I'm going to relish that memory, and I'm going to say, man, that's part of what makes me today who I am and leads to my future legacy. And so, as we talk about legacy, what do you hope people remember most about you from your time on the field and off the field?
I never really think about those things. My my friend sent me a photo of our high school field, and it lists my name and my like accolades, and people connect with me on LinkedIn, and they're like, "Hey, I love the work that you do." And I looked at your stats. And I never thought about. I still don't think about that sort of thing. I really don't have anything. I mean, back to your point that you just said, like the daily relentless pursuit that we had as an athlete or in service, or that is the journey or the destination sort of thing. When we're at the destination in the minor leagues, we don't think about the journey, or we think that we are still in the journey in pursuit of the next thing. And so I've never thought about legacy. I want the work that I do to speak for itself. I want to be in a position where I look back on my career of things that I did, and where to me it seems um, they all seem so different. But when I take a step back 30 years from now, when I'm retired, or I don't know if I could ever stop doing the things that I'm doing, and I piece together the things that I perceived as things that I was able to accomplish, I'm gonna be able to see a through line between all of them. They're all connected in some sort of way. But just my personal legacy, I don't, I don't care. The work of More Than Baseball was to provide it to create a union for minor league baseball players. The mission is accomplished. The work of Mind Ready is to provide coaching and education resources to protect and support the mental health of athletes, and we're going to be able to do that at a large scale. And I think in the aggregate, those things matter way more than what's on my career statistics list on whatever Wikipedia page or whatever. So, I want the work um, to speak for itself, um, rather than personal legacy. But I want my family and friends to be proud of the things that they were able to support me in, and that will be more worth it. And they're like, I helped Jeremy do that thing, and look what they were able to accomplish because of it. That I want to bring people along with me. I, I want that to be my legacy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you're doing that very well. Often, what we find is that those that are chasing legacy and chasing grandeur either get there and are disappointed or never get there, right? And so, as you continue to give and service, you will see legacy develop because it's what people do, right? They remember you fondly. They speak about you in a certain way of how you impacted them in this way or that way, or how your service and what you were doing actually impacted them and their families in this kind of way. So it will come out in the wash eventually, but so good that you're not chasing it. Let it evolve by your works. And I think that's the best way to doing it. And you have mentioned the work to provide some resource for Venezuelan baseball players to be able to reside and continue their tenure here in the United States and become citizens in one way, shape, or form, right? It's what we relish, is how we all start. But talking about citizenship as a professional athlete and entrepreneur, you've had the chance to represent your team, your heritage, and your community. So, what does good citizenship mean to you in that context?
I told my wife she's not a baseball fan. She saw some kids walking around the airport with like Team USA gear, like high school kids, and I was like, "Oh, I used to do those tournaments. I used to try out for Team Israel or Team USA when I was in high school." I thought that was like the most amazing thing you could do, right? Represent your country on a global stage. I never made the team. There were a bunch of guys who were still in the major leagues that made those teams. But after my Mets career ended, I got injured. I had a herniated disc in my back. I couldn't walk for a couple months. I got released, started more than baseball, and we raised some early funding with more than baseball, and had the ability to bring equipment to Israel. And just, I grew up, my father's Jewish, my mother's Italian. I grew up 100% of both. Um, but, you know, I felt this kinship with the other Jewish JSL players that I played with. Not a lot. I was a Jewish All American in college. I don't even know how they do. I was Jewish, but they did, and so I had a connection to it. Ian Kinsler, like his poster was on my wall growing up. Like, felt very close to it as a ball player, in that sort of group. And so I made a phone call. Hey, I have the ability to bring some equipment to Israel. Is that all right? And they said, do you want to play outfield on the Olympic team? We have like tournaments coming up in Bulgaria and Lithuania. And I was like, yes. Like, I hadn't picked up a bat in a year and a half. I hadn't thrown a ball. I was like, yes, I'll do it. Like, I'll do it. I left my job to like go play in Europe, and it was, I never knew what it meant to represent a country on your chest. Um, the team that became the Israeli Olympic team was a bunch of American Jews, some Israeli-born Jews, a bunch of American Jews who made Aliyah, got citizenship, and to the kids that we got to meet, sort of connect with online, and when we qualified for the Olympics, when we even were trying to get to the Olympics, the fervor that was there from this diaspora of Jewish baseball fans, it's a very strong. And I played for the Brooklyn Cyclones. Okay, the entire stadium was Jewish people who were like, "Oh, you're Jewish too. And you're wearing number 18. That's amazing. You're my favorite player." And I was like, "This is what I didn't have growing up." Right? I just had Ian Kinsler and Ryan Braun and whatever. And so we qualified for the Olympics, and I moved to Israel. And there were a couple of other guys on the team that were still there, mostly Israeli born. I think I was the only American at the time that lived there in 2019 and before COVID in 2020. So almost a year of like doing all of this. And I really got to understand what it meant to represent. um, Israel on my chest. I'm very, it is the most proud I've ever been to in my baseball career to do that. I was drafted, won a national championship, did all the things that you want to do, but to represent um, Israeli people and the country of Israel on the global stage playing baseball is an honor of my lifetime. Politics aside, right? Feels like it has to come up in conversations like this too. I got to see the conflict when I was living there, and it made me um, better understand the position that I was able to be in because of baseball. Baseball led me to all of these things. Um, and so all of this stuff happens in 2023 and 2024, and so it makes me think about what I was able to learn and understand from representing Israel. I can agree and disagree on the politics of all of it, but I look at my career, and part of my career is being on that Israeli baseball team, and so um, I'm very proud to be in the conversation of Israeli athletes and help the team qualify for the Olympics. And I'm beyond grateful to now have an understanding of what happens, more than just being Jewish, more than just making Aliyah and visiting Israel. We're going on birthright, but being able to identify and represent Israel. I, Baseball led me to that, and it's something I think about every single day. Is the position that um, I was put in because of baseball. Now I get to have these conversations and begin to further understand and educate and uh, think about what baseball means on that level, and also what Israel means on that level too.
Yeah, and it's amazing how a lot of the things that will come to us here in the future is based off of what we would be partaking of, right? You offered, hey, I have an ability to do this for the team, and voila, right? Here you have something that is very, very powerful of a moment. And so I'm glad that you was able to put those two together and actually have that opportunity to represent a nation on a global scale, as you had just mentioned. Now, for those listening, they may be wondering, hey, I need to know a little bit more about Jeremy. Where can our audience learn more about you, and how can they support you?
Yeah, yeah. Well, support me by supporting your local athlete, your nephew or niece or child or friend of a friend or family. Like, do what you can to support that athlete, the things that they need, more than just equipment, right? And I know tons of athletes could use, you know, more or better equipment at their local field. Support your local elementary school after school program. Do the things that um, are necessary to keep the, the power and the value of sport alive. The work that we do at MindReady is find us on social media at Get MindReady, and mindready.co is our website. Um, I'm not on social media. We connected through LinkedIn, but a joy of my life will no longer be needing LinkedIn. But anybody can connect with me um, on LinkedIn too. I'd be happy to chat and support local athletics. I think an amazing thing that we did with More Than Baseball was we got to provide equipment to communities in Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic and Kentucky, local Kentucky Little League programs and different things. We got to do so many amazing things to support the global growth of baseball. Um, I missed that the most after we accomplished our goal with More Than Baseball. But with MindReady, I got to kind of get to put myself back in that position, and athletes around the world get to access mental health and mental performance resources that they wouldn't have had otherwise. And so that's a mission worth having. And so support your local athlete and provide them a safe space to have these conversations and make sure that they're um, strong and healthy on the field as well as off the field too. So
Well, absolutely. And folks, we'll have all of the links as part of the show notes and video so you can be able to support your local athlete. It's very important to do so. you never know where that journey is going to go for them, and it every little bit helps. Jeremy, thank you for being with us today and sharing your story, sharing your trajectory from baseball to entrepreneurship, and as you continue. Folks, for more information on the foundation, please visit us at our website, activevaloraward.org. And on behalf of the Bob Feller Active Valor Foundation, thank you all for joining us on this episode.